Wraparound with Grace,
Alessia,
and Maryuri.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode. There's lots to talk about this week regarding draft prospects, eliminated teams, and lots more. So let's get right into it. We're going to start off with the teams that just got recently eliminated. We have Boston, Philadelphia, Colorado, and Vancouver. So we're going to start off with Boston. I know that last week's episode we spoke a lot about Boston, so we're not going to take up too much time on them this week. It's going to be like just a quick run through of what we spoke about last week. So just basically what we said is I think they just need to kind of refresh the team, get some younger players. What went wrong necessarily in that Tampa series? Just Tampa's really strong offensively. I think they just got through them in their weak spots, and I don't know. I feel like there isn't too much to say. I don't know what you guys think about Boston.
I mean, like we said last week, their core has been together for over a decade, and they're starting to get older. So like you said, a refresh, some new faces in Boston would definitely help the team. And like you said, Tampa is really strong this year, so I wasn't surprised that Boston had trouble making it onto the next round.
I said what I needed to say last week.
Done deal. Grace has nothing else to say. Her time about speaking about Boston is up.
I'm done.
Never again.
Talk to me next year.
And so after Boston, we have our dear Philadelphia.
Everybody take a moment to send your good thoughts to Maryuri. I know this is really difficult for her.
It's been tough. It's been tough, not gonna lie. But like as we've been seeing, New York has just been playing really, really incredibly good. I think we've been I think we've been underestimating them this whole time.
Or have we?
Well, last week I think I was the only one, or was it the week before, that I said that the Islanders would beat the Flyers, but it would be close.
Yeah, I mean, we did have some pretty good close series, and the thing with Philadelphia was that they just couldn't get their offense going. You know, they couldn't score many goals. It's kind of the same problem they had when they faced Montreal. They just couldn't get big leads in order to I don't know if that makes sense, to get bigger leads in order to defend better, because if you have such tight leads, it's kind of hard to...
Yeah, because you're always focused on the offense.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was just their main, I guess, Achilles heel, I guess you could call it, that they just couldn't really score.
That's a fancy word for 11 in the morning. We're recording way earlier than we usually do, and we're all sitting here half asleep in our pajamas.
Yeah.
We'll start it this week. I don't know what the Flyers did. I forgot they got eliminated until I read it in the outline this morning. I was just thinking about how I didn't want to talk about Boston. But I was just upset because Carter Hart didn't deserve this.
No, and he was playing exceptionally well throughout this whole series, and you couldn't really tell that it was his first time playing in the playoffs ever. It looked like he had experience for years and years and years. He did an amazing job, but obviously he's still very young. He still needs to grow as a starter. There's still lots and lots of years for him to grow, but I think the Flyers should be very, very happy with the performance that he gave during those series. He pretty much gave the Flyers a chance to actually win series and to actually go ahead in the playoffs when it probably seemed like that they weren't going to, especially giving away bad goals. And that was his fault, but also just them not helping him and giving him the opportunity to actually perform even better than he already was. So, I mean, it's sad to see them go, but I feel like there's definitely more improvement for the team, and I feel like there's definitely a reason as to why they didn't get through.
Yeah, and, like, I totally understand that. I mean, Carter Hart, we're going to keep talking about him because we have to. We aren't going to be able to talk about him again. He's 22. Like, I know 22-year-olds who can't tie their shoes yet. So the fact that he's playing in the Stanley Cup Finals or the Stanley Cup playoffs, fantastic. Good for him. I think that, yeah, his team needs to be stronger in front of him. But there's nothing really wrong with him. He just needs to develop, which, like, is the only thing you can expect from a child.
Yeah, like you guys said, he looked like a goalie with a lot of playoff experience underneath his belt. and he's only 22 years old, which is amazing. I was watching him against the Islanders during the series. He did have a few rough games, but overall he played great. And like Marjorie said, he gave the team a chance to win. And we touched upon how they were having trouble scoring goals. And it's not like scoring goals, it's more like creating like quality goals, like not just like tip-ins or like redirects, which were
Exactly.
against Montreal. There were so many deflections off of players. I can't even count on one hand how many there were. But when I look at the team, the goals came from like their bottom six forwards. So like Michael Raffle, Scott Lawton. I was looking for players like Drew and Konechny to step up. Drew only had one goal in the playoffs. Konechny didn't even score one goal, but they had a decent amount of assists. But like I said, you need those top six forwards to perform in order to go far in playoffs.
Exactly. There's a reason why they pay them the big bucks. It's because they produce offensively, and if they can't do that in the playoffs, then how can you really expect a team to move on with just their third and fourth line players producing? It's kind of impossible, and just to rely on your goalie, that's even worse. So I think during this offseason, maybe the Flyers need to look a little bit more towards their offense and just, I guess, keep conditioning players in order to get them prepared for next year's playoff run. And so with that, with us being, talking about the Eastern Conference, let's move on to our little Western Conference buddies. Let's move on to Colorado. Alessia's pick.
Yeah.
For the final.
I forgot that was your pick.
No longer there.
That was my Stanley Cup favorite. Although I said that I didn't see them going forward beating the Stars, but they were my Stanley Cup favorite.
Yeah, sadly the Avalanche were plagued with injuries, especially Philip Grubauer. He was playing really, really well for the Avalanche, but then Pavel Francouz came in, and he did not play very well compared to Grubauer. He gave up 13 goals over 3 games and had a save percentage of .848.
Okay,
that is absolutely horrendous.
That is terrible. I haven't seen a save percentage that bad from like a playoff goaltender ever.
That's so close to going below 800. Like, that's so close to going below 800. And to give 13 goals over 3 games,
that's insane.
That's ridiculous. That's so unacceptable. And especially when you compare it to his regular season save percentage of .923 over 31 games. And
like, how do you do that?
A goals against average of 2.41. And he went 21-7-4. So he played really, really well during the regular season. He just played horribly.
Pavel, what happened to you? Who hurt you?
And so I feel like that was probably the biggest problem for the Avalanche, losing Grubauer. They also had a lot of other injuries I'm pretty sure, to their forwards. I can't remember specifically.
Yeah, one was Matt Calvert. And then in Game 7, they were missing Captain Gabriel Landeskog because he got cut on his leg, and it forced him to be sidelined for Game 7. But he was still healthy. It was just that injury.
It's not like it's not like they lost a lot of players to injuries. They lost significant players to injuries. What we're gathering from this. But at the same time, the problem is that they really couldn't perform even with those players gone. You know, good teams can still play when they lose significant players, and obviously Colorado couldn't do that. But as we're seeing, the Stars have been playing really, really well. They've been playing a really well defensive game also. So I don't know. I guess it was hard for Colorado to kind of get through to them, but I don't know.
It was nice to see them come back from being behind 2-0.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned these two players a lot. McKinnon played amazing in 15 playoff games, 9 goals, 16 assists, 25 points. And then you have a young guy, Makar, in the playoffs, 4 goals, 11 assists, 15 points. And then Nazem Kadri, who is basically running the Colorado's power play. I know, I can see Grace. Sad. But he was key to the success of Colorado's power play, to be honest. But yeah, there were some injuries and Colorado didn't make it on. So
Yeah, and clearly, obviously, the biggest problem they had was in goaltending. Obviously, if Philip Grubauer was in net, I feel like it would have been a very, very different story. I definitely don't think he would have allowed 13 goals over 3 games. I feel like he definitely would have given the Avalanche more of a fighting chance. But unfortunately, he got injured. That's just the way it goes, and they're out.
you got to give credit though to Michael Hutchinson, who was
Oh, yeah.
their third string goalie, who came in and played. He played decent for what it was.
He
So.
played okay
Alessia.
for how awful he was playing with the Leafs.
Oh,
Alessia,
sorry, that's another
I'm not
ex-Leafs
talking to you
fan.
anymore. I'm not doing it.
I
I'm done
forget
now.
some of these guys are ex-Leafs. So.
Leaving the
Literally
Zoom
every
call.
guy's ex-Leafs. Oh my gosh.
Every guy that's like surprisingly producing in the playoffs is an ex-Leaf.
So the last team on our list to be spoken about is the Vancouver Canucks. I think at one point we said that we really didn't expect much from them, which was kind of, I guess, mean on our part because they did play a really good series against the Golden Knights. But alas, we were correct. They did not get through. And I mean, it wasn't a series that I was really keeping an eye on. I mean, it was a good back and forth. And, you know, I guess it would have been a good series to watch. But at the end of the day, I don't think I was really expecting the Canucks to get through that series. I don't know about you.
I was worried
No.
at one point, but
You were worried?
I was worried. Vegas, I don't know, they let their guard down for a hot second there, and it just like, I started to get a little bit nervous. I was watching the games and I was like, don't do this to me, don't do it. And they didn't, which was nice. But yeah, I was nervous at one point. Vancouver seemed to have like a spark for a couple games there. And they seemed to just want it more than Vegas. And then that flipped. But I was worried. They did have potential. So it was kind of sad to see them go, but also, haha.
I mean, they had a really good goaltending in Demko. He made some like ridiculous saves.
Yeah.
He did make some like really great saves, and like once again, he did give Vancouver a fighting chance to actually pass through that round. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I feel like Vegas just, I guess, outskated them and just had more of an offensive threat than Vancouver, because I think Vancouver is a little bit more defensive heavy. And so I feel like there wasn't that balance for them to get back against Vegas.
I mean, when you look at Vancouver's like roster and you look at their defense, other than Quinn Hughes in the playoffs, the defense like wasn't amazing. Like they weren't crazy good. But like we said, the Canucks still played well, but we kind of knew Vegas was the better team in this one.
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like maybe Vancouver has to do some changes once again to get their offense going. I mean, Canucks GM Jim Benning kind of put right winger Jake Virtanen on blast and just said he expected more from him, which is kind of rough because you're signaling out one individual player, and especially because the Canucks have been giving Virtanen lots and lots of chances. They kept him around for a very long time. So I don't know what they're going to do there. Maybe they're going to finally be trading him, resolve whatever issue they might have at right wing or on their offense. But I kind of found that funny that he just was like, yeah, he should have been better.
I think it's interesting when like the GM seemed to expect more than like all of the fans. Because it's like he absolutely just roasted him during that media conference. And it was like, oh, well, none of us expected him to be that good. So, I don't know. I think it'd be good if they kind of move on from Jake Virtanen. I mean, it'll be weird, but it'll be good.
Yeah, I've only ever thought of Jake Virtanen as a Canuck,
Right?
especially because he's from BC. So it's going to be weird to see him in some other jersey. But I don't know. It sucks to see the last Canadian team leave.
No, it does not.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
We all knew there wasn't going to be a Canadian team.
But
in
yes,
the
at the end of the day, we knew that it just probably wasn't in the cards, and whatever. I think Vancouver still has a lot of space to grow, and I feel like their time will come soon. but it definitely was not this year. And I don't think any of us were really expecting them to come out flying this year. So those were all of the eliminated teams. Sucks to see them go, but we still have really great series to watch right now. Grace was like, not really.
Does it suck to see them go?
They still played very well fought series. So I don't know. It's still kind of sucky to see really great teams go. But like I said before, it probably wasn't the year, and clearly it wasn't. And moving on, we're going to speak about the Edmonton bubble, because now all of the teams are officially in the Edmonton bubble. And when did I speak about this? I think I mentioned this about 2 episodes ago. So maybe in episode 4 or 3, I spoke about the NBA allowing family members into the bubble during the second round. And I asked you guys, do you think the NHL should be doing something like that, or do you think they'll be adopting something like that? And looky here, my friends, they are doing something like that. They are allowing Canadian family members to enter the Edmonton bubble. They'll be allowed to join as long as they adhere by the quarantine regulations. They're still waiting to hear back from the Canadian government regarding the permanence of family members who aren't Canadian citizens. So I don't know, is this the end to 0 positive tests? You know, can they actually do this and continue having 0 positive tests?
I don't know. I think that the NHL has been doing a really good job, considering that before the bubble, they had several players who had tested positive.
Mm-hmm.
And then during the bubble, they've had none. So I feel like all of these Canadian family members should be fine, as long as the NHL is as strict with them as they were with their players. I don't like it, but like I'm not mad about it. It'll be okay. Just don't let the non-Canadian family members come in.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like with the borders being closed, I don't feel like they should be given like a special entrance. I don't feel like they're special than anybody else, any other US citizen. So they shouldn't be given a pass just to come see their spouse play in, or son or brother, whatever, play in the NHL playoffs. I don't think it's really that significant that they have to come in here. So I don't know. I mean,
is that a rule though? Sorry, is that a rule though? Like, is it just like significant others, or is it
You see, I don't know. They didn't really specify. I didn't know if they did something like the NBA where it was like just immediate family and like long time close personal friends. I don't know if they have that same rule. I'm still like really like weird about I'm still really weird about that one option. So when I was reading, I didn't really read anything too much about that. I think they're still waiting for like the Canadian government to come back to them to really get into the logistics of what it's going to be like. But I was going to ask you guys, if they can't guarantee everyone's family into the bubble, should they really be doing it? Like, is that really fair to the players?
I don't think it's fair. Like, the idea of bringing family members into the bubble is good only because the players are able to see their family. But at the same time, it's a risk. There might be a chance that there is a COVID case that pops up. There might not be. The NHL has done a fantastic job, doing all the stuff for COVID. And then when I thought about it, because I even wrote down last night, what's the point if not everybody's family members can make it into the bubble? Like you said, I don't think there should be an exception that if you're part of a player's immediate family, you should be let across the US-Canadian border. It just doesn't make sense to me. And when you look at the teams who are left now, they're all American teams. I'm sure a lot of the families of these teams are residing in the US right now, or they're living there. So how many family members are even going to make the trip to come and see their spouse or their family member play? I don't know.
Also, all of the players with kids in school, if
Yeah,
the kids
that
are starting to
too.
go back to school, it's like how are you going to make allowances for all of this? And I don't think they can, like, with good conscience and be like, hey, yeah, 20% of you get to see your families while the other 80% get to sit here and suffer for the next month. So I don't think it really makes sense to do it. I understand why they're doing it. It's been a while since they've seen their families, which makes sense. but it doesn't really make any sense to me.
That's why I like it more for just like the players being able to see their family, but then I don't like it because of the whole situation with the US Canadian border. Would they be allowed to come? There's so many risks and so much that the league would have to go through.
Yeah, I just don't think there should be an exemption for someone's family member just because, you know, they so happen to play in a professional league. Like, I just feel like that makes no sense. They're no any different from, like I said before, from a regular American citizen. If they come into Edmonton, what's going to stop them from just walking around and like seeing what Edmonton has to offer? Realistically, I don't really know what Edmonton has to offer because I don't know my tourist attractions in every city, but the NHL would have to make very strict rules in order to keep those family members from leaving the hotel. And I feel like that would be hard, especially having young kids or, you know, who knows what, maybe you want to bring a pet. It'll be hard. With the NBA, lucky for them, they're at Disney, so it makes it a little bit easier for kids. It makes it a little easier for their kids to walk around and roam around and keep busy and keep preoccupied. I don't understand why they introduced this so late in the game. Like, I get
the other thing.
I get maybe because like it's getting closer to the actual final, but at the same time, like, it's September, it's getting colder, you know, like Alessia said, kids are going back to school. I feel like they could have maybe allowed it at the very beginning and eventually let them leave, just so like I guess they could have spent some time with their family a little bit longer and then get back into things. But I don't see what the point is to bring them in now. I think it's kind of weird, and I think until we actually hear what the NHL has in plan or has in store, like regarding rules and who's allowed to actually come in, I feel like we won't really be able to kind of judge their plan. But I don't know, I feel like it's kind of risky at this point, especially with everything, and especially sadly right now cases are
they're starting to go up,
increasing again, so it makes things extra hard. So hopefully if family members are allowed to come in, it doesn't really affect their zero positive test streak, because they've been doing so incredibly well. It'd be kind of sucky to see one positive test pop up, but I don't know. Edmonton, you better not allow Americans, please, because I certainly don't want them here for a very long time, because I'm trying to keep Canadians safe. And I think we can all agree with that. I feel like a lot of Canadians really want to keep that border closed and want to stay away from Americans as much as possible. Also, especially like, let's just say they let like families in and then the team gets eliminated. Like, you're only going to let them in for like what, 1 or 2 weeks when they would have seen their family right away anyways.
Well,
like,
the chances of them getting this pulled together by the end of this round, slim. So it'll probably just be for the final. And the final could be 4 days. Like, we don't know what their plan is. So it'll be a week at the most that they're in the bubble. And then they have to quarantine for 14 days. Like, I don't think any of this mathematically makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense at all.
I think they just introduced it way too late. They should have just done it at the beginning, so the players would have had more time to spend with their family before they like left, and then they would have been happy, and then they would have been, I guess, satisfied with the time that they spent, even though I'm pretty sure they spend a good chunk of time with their family members. But I don't know. Let's see what the NHL does with this whole situation. It's kind of I guess wacky to see, just because of how everything's unfolding. Especially we have to see what the Canadian government says, because we all know that they were very strict with the Blue Jays not playing in Toronto. So I highly doubt that they'll allow family members who aren't Canadian into this bubble. So we'll have to see and wait what the NHL announces, but it'll be exciting because I want to see if they allow close, personal, longtime friends on that list.
I just want to know how often you've been thinking about that. Like, I feel like it's been something that's been picking at your brain for the past, like, month.
I just, as soon as I saw when the NBA announced that, I was like, I don't understand. Like, why? Like, I know that NBA players have, like, entourages and they have, like people in their personal like bubble that like they like to keep close because that's just the lifestyle that they live. But I still find it kind of funny that like they just want one of their buddies in like a bubble with them. I don't know. Instead of their family member, I just kind of find it funny.
Is it time for my favorite segment?
Yes, the weekly.
Can I say it? Can I say it?
Okay.
Okay.
Say it.
It's time for the weekly audience engagement.
Woo.
That was really sad, guys. I put all my effort into that, and you gave me nothing.
Clearly we have no energy.
Well, ever since you guys made fun of it, I don't really ever have energy to introduce this segment. It kind of makes me sad every time I see the name. I just
Marjorie,
can't
we
get
love
past
you.
it. No.
We do love you. We don't love WAE.
The way?
Oh.
The way?
There. I like the shortened version better.
All right, we have it. It's time for the way.
The way. So this episode's away is which underdog team will make it out of their respective conference. So our options were Dallas or New York. So Alessia, if you want to give us those results.
So on Instagram right now, it's a 50-50 tie for the first time. So 50% Islanders, 50% Stars. On Twitter, it's 100% people voted the Stars would move on.
Yeah,
Rude.
because that was one vote and that was me.
There was 3 votes. There was 3 votes.
Oh, there's 3 votes because last time I checked, it was just my vote, and I was like, great.
Yeah, I didn't vote. Sorry.
I voted Stars, so.
I voted Stars too. I mean, as much as like the Islanders have been playing really well, and they've been performing.
No, let's talk about the Islanders.
I mean, they've been playing
8-2,
well.
And then they lost again last night. No,
They've been playing well in the other series.
Oh,
But I was specifically going to say that they've been having good goaltending, and that's obviously what's been pushing them through the playoffs. But, and like I was going to say, as much as we like underestimate the Islanders and how much they can like pass through, I really don't think they'll be able
but
to
here's
pass
my
through
thing.
the
We haven't been
Lightning.
underestimating the Islanders. This is what we said would happen from the beginning.
They
were
have
just
the
lucky.
possibility. They have the possibility. We always had like some caution. We would say, we don't think they'll make it, but there's the possibility that they will.
They were just lucky. We're seeing the true Islanders right now. I've never been happier about it. Anyway, back to the way. Sorry.
But no, I was just saying that I chose the Stars, and even though that the Islanders, let's just say, have been lucky enough to pass through these rounds, Tampa Bay has just been really, really good this year, and they've been really, really good in these playoffs. Their offense is kind of insane. Vasilevsky, there we go. I can never say names. Oh my gosh, Vasilevsky has been playing really, really well. So I don't know. I'm sorry, Islanders. Once again, I have to say that you will not be making it through this round. I hope I'm right this time, but I don't know about you guys.
I mean, okay, so when I looked at the question, I looked at the Stars versus the Knights, and I couldn't, honestly, when I look at that matchup, I don't see like one team designated the underdog. I think it's like a fairly good matchup, but when I look at Tampa versus the Islanders, look, any team going against Tampa right now is an underdog. They're just that powerful this year in the playoffs. So I went with the Stars. What did they lose? What, 3-0 against the Knights the other night? What was the score? Something like that.
I think
it was
I want to say
3-0.
3-0.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Leonard got a shutout.
He's been great.
Yeah,
Leonard's been
that's my
great.
thing. The Vegas will make it if they don't play Marc-Andre Fleury. I just got stomach
One true
cramps when I
love.
said that. Like, that hurt me.
The thing, okay, the reason like why I think I worded the question underdog, because I remember a couple weeks ago we had spoken about the Islanders and how they were like 5th in their division, and like they like barely made it through that cut to get entered into the bubble. And so I think that kind of classifies as an underdog team. But Dallas was playing really, really well in the regular season. So that one is kind of like, iffy. As Alessia said, that's a pretty good matchup against the Knights. But
Dallas is an underdog in the sense that how is Dallas good?
Yes, exactly. Like how like I don't think none of us would have thought that Dallas would be in the West Finals right now. I don't think anybody would be like I don't think at the beginning someone would be like, "What's your prediction for the West Final?" and someone would have said the Dallas Stars.
I saw Dallas going far, but not this far, because when I was doing like, I don't know if you guys did like the bracket or whatever, I
Mhm.
did have the matchup being Colorado versus Dallas, and I thought Colorado would beat Dallas. I never thought Dallas would beat Colorado, but it did go to 7 games. But like you said, I didn't see them going this far. Like they're good enough to make it past, like get to like the second round, but I wasn't too sure about making it to the conference finals for them.
And out of those two teams, out of Dallas and New York, I feel like Dallas has more of a well-rounded team to like help them
Yeah.
get past
They're just stronger.
the team they're playing. Yeah.
Like in multiple ways.
Like not only are they good in net, but they have a really good defense and they can score, lots of goals. And I feel like with New York, we don't really see that. I feel like they can kind of just defend and they have a good goaltender, but other than that, like I don't think there's a lot of highlight reel goals that we're seeing from the Islanders or like lots of like highlight reel plays. And I don't think that that's kind of the team that they're showing right now. Like you said, I feel like they're kind of lucky, but luck can only get you so far.
Yeah, I don't know which game it was that the Islanders played. It was an OT game, and I just didn't think they were strong defensively. I thought they were going to lose, and I think they ended up winning. I can't remember which game it was, but yeah, I didn't think they were too great defensively. I know they have some star players up front, Barzal, Beauvillier, but I don't know. Tampa's very strong. Wouldn't be surprised if they make it on. Actually, they probably are going to make it on. And
Yeah.
I think they're now a cup favorite. That's pretty
Yeah.
obvious right now.
I just like to say that they've always been my cup favorite.
Yeah, they
have.
I'm
And
gonna
you
put
can
that out
listen.
right
You can
now.
listen to
They
our
have.
last couple episodes, and you can listen Grace saying her prediction. We'll give her that. But
you.
the last couple series, the Islanders' best defense was their goaltender Varlamov, but clearly that is not the case in this series against the Lightning. I mean, I watched last night's game, and like that one was, I guess, more evenly played than the first game of the series, where they were absolutely just,
yeah,
thrashed over. But the Lightning were lucky to get that bounce in the very last dying seconds of the game. But like we keep on saying, the Lightning haven't been so good, and honestly, I think they're all of our cup favorites at this point. But let's see, we've been talking about the Islanders and what has been kind of working for them, but what has been working for the Dallas Stars?
So with Dallas, I think they have some great players. Jamie Benn, Alexander Radulov, who's been a great competitor. He's taken some penalties. We saw that against the Avalanche, but when he's hot, he's a great player. On defense, they have Miro. I can't even say his name. Miro Heiskanen.
I say Heiskanen.
I say Heiskanen too, but sometimes when I see the name, it just like throws me off. He's leading the team in points with 21 in the playoffs, which is amazing for a young defenseman.
Defenseman, keyword defenseman.
Yes. And the Dallas Stars also have John Klingberg, who's a really big part of the team and their defensive core. If you've watched him while he's played, he's really good at walking the line and making smart plays at the blue line. So overall, Dallas is good, really good offensively and defensively. One player I'm looking to see more out of is Tyler Seguin. I think he needs to be a bit better for the Dallas Stars if they want to move forward against the Knights.
I think we always expect a lot out of Seguin just because I feel like people know the kind of player he can be. And to see everybody else producing and him not so much, I feel like once he, I guess, turns that on, I think the Stars will definitely be a force to be reckoned with. That was our way. I don't know how I feel about that anymore because now every time I say it sounds kind of funny. But we're going to move on to our next segment, which is draft prospects, which is something really exciting to talk about because young players are always fun to talk about because they just keep on getting better and better every year. It's kind of ridiculous how good these kids are getting, and to think that they're getting younger than us is also kind of just crazy to think about. That is just, it's just weird that players that were born in like 2002 and like 2003 are eventually going to get drafted into NHL. It's just, it blows my mind. Either way, the NHL has set the draft to begin on October 6th and free agency on October 9th. So that is very, very soon. Free agency is literally less than, just like a day less than a month away. So it's going to be exciting to see how that pans out, because we all know, and we were speaking the last two episodes, how there's a lot of great players on the chopping block who are either going to get traded, who are going to get re-signed. There's just so many players to look out for. And I'm pretty sure in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have our own little segment on news and who's up for grabs and who's left teams. So it'll be exciting. Grace is like, more work, more research. But
Leave
no.
me out of this.
But I'll be excited to see, and I'll be excited how this draft goes, especially with everything going on, and see how they get it done. It'll be cool to see a virtual draft this year. We're going to start off with their prospects. We have 3 very good prospects. I was looking on all the lists of all the people I could find, and these are by far the 3 top players on pretty much majority of these people's lists. So the first one we're going to start off with is Alexis Lafreniere. We have spoken about Lafreniere when it was revealed that the Rangers would be getting the first overall pick.
Which I'm still mad about, by the way.
I think, and I can't remember who said this, but I was looking on TSN and how they were writing about that Lafreniere is probably the most sure thing to come out of this draft in this time of uncertainty, which is very true, because he's probably not even probably, it's like 99% certain that he will go first overall. I feel like it'd be kind of impossible for him.
Imagine if he doesn't.
Can you imagine? That'd just be ridiculous. I don't even know what the Rangers would be thinking.
I mean,
because
do they need Lafreniere? No, not really. But at the same time, if they don't, are they stupid? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's been like players over the year, or like there's been 1 and 2, like there's been draft prospects that have been in the 1 and 2 position, and like people didn't know whether or not they would go at 1 or 2. And so it was kind of like, ooh, I wonder who's going to go at number 1. But with him, I feel like we all know, yeah, he's going to go at number 1.
Yeah.
And so, like we said a couple episodes ago, he is the World Juniors MVP. He played for Canada, and he had a total of 332 points, including the playoffs over his 3 seasons with Rimouski of the QMJHL, which is kind of ridiculous. Just over 3 seasons to have that many points. It just goes to show how amazing of a player he is.
That's like averaging 110 points a season. That's incredible.
That's
crazy.
Insane.
Oh my God, quick math. I'm so proud.
Smartness at this early of the morning. But yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
It is very impressive. But honestly, there isn't too much to say about him. I think we all know that he's a really impressive player. He obviously can produce. I mean, I think he can fit in pretty much anywhere. I don't think it'll be too hard to place him somewhere. And like I think I mentioned a couple of episodes ago, him being at the winger position, New York has great players at that winger position that can help mentor him and guide him. And I don't know, I feel like he won't be really overshadowed or at New York. So I think it'll be a good placement for him. And I don't know, there's not too much to say about him. I think it's kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, we've already mentioned so many times, like he's a great competitor. He has a great competitive level. We saw during the World Juniors, under pressure, he's able to elevate his game so quickly. It's crazy good. Like he's amazing. He's also a playmaker, and his vision of the game is great. So I mean, we've said these things so many times. So it's just
and like so has everybody else. Like, what more can we say about Alexis Lafreniere? Like, there's literally nothing. Everybody said everything already. So it's kind of like, yeah, the first overall pick, who we all already know about. Great. But
yeah, I feel like
it's like it's exciting to see what he's gonna do, to think of what he can do. So
Yeah,
I feel
this
like
go Marjorie, go.
oh no, I was just gonna feel like with like people are just now focusing on like the second and third and fourth round picks and not the first round pick.
yeah.
I was gonna say this morning I was curious. I'm like, okay, let me see all the awards and accomplishments he has underneath his belt. And I knew, I saw on the doc, because we have our little doc for the wraparound, that he was the MVP for the World Juniors and Best Forward. He won as well. Then I saw it's now 2 years in a row that he's the CHL Player of the Year. And there's so many other awards I can't even remember, but I have that written down. That's incredible.
Yeah, he's definitely accomplished a lot in those 3 seasons with Rimouski, which is kind of crazy. But like I said, I feel like people are no longer focusing on that first round pick because I feel like everybody just knows who it's going to go to. I feel like now the big ones are going to be second, third, fourth, and fifth because those are obviously always interchanged and people never know who's going to go at that number. So second on our list is Quinton Byfield. He
Somehow my most favorite and least favorite OHL player on the entire planet.
Really?
I say
Why?
most favorite because he's awesome. I say least favorite because I'm a Hounds fan. So watching him play against the Hounds, not even. It's just like he's my least favorite because of how annoying he is when he plays. I'm like, how can you be so good and you're so young? He's incredibly good. He was really entertaining to watch from what I remember watching him. And it was always like, oh, we're playing the Wolves in Byfield. Like that was what you thought. So he's really impressive when you watch him play. He's also really irritating when you watch him play because it's like how are you such a well-rounded player?
Yeah, at such a young age.
Yeah.
And in all of those mock drafts, and like I said before, out there, Byfield and our next pick, which is Stutzel, they're either ranked second or third, and they're always changing. So either one is ranked second or the other one's ranked third or like the other way around. So it'll be good to see how those 2 picks go. And like Grace was saying, he's an exceptionally well-rounded player. He collected 82 points in the 2019-2020 season with the Sudbury Wolves. And remember that that season was cut short. So just imagine if that season had gone the full length. I'm sure he would have gone to 100 points easily. And he's a centerman. So, of course, centermen produce a lot of points, but for him to produce so much in a short span of that season is kind of incredible to see. And I don't know, LA or Ottawa would be really lucky to have him as a player who produces a lot of points because I think we all know that LA and Ottawa are both looking to kind of revamp their team, especially Ottawa trying to, do a whole refresh or like a restart of the team.
That's why I don't want him to go to Ottawa, just because that team is such a giant dumpster fire.
I'm like, he won't have the space to actually perform.
Yeah. I'm like, you'll be taken care of in LA, so just they can take you. That's fine.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, like he is a young player. I believe he just turned 18, which a lot of people forget about that because when you're looking at a player's development, 1 year can make a ginormous difference. Mm-hmm. So there's still room for Quinton Byfield to grow and develop as a player.
Sorry, I just threw up a little bit because I just realized they're all younger than we are.
I know. That's what I was literally saying. It's crazy to think that players born in 2002, 2003 are now going to be eventually drafted. It just blows my mind. It's icky for me. I don't know. I feel so old even though we're like 19. But no, like Grace was saying, I think if he did go to LA, that'd be kind of good for him because there's some big boys in LA. And so I think he'd really get I think they would toughen him up a lot quicker than if he played in Ottawa. And I think that's the best thing for a player at his age and for his development.
I was going to say, I think LA would be a better fit for him because, like you said, there's bigger guys there, and Quinton Byfield is a big player. He can either beat you with his size and his power or his vision and skill on the ice. So, I don't know. I just see him fitting in more with LA than Ottawa.
The other thing is that, like, during the draft, when you have teams like Ottawa drafting up high, it kind of sucks for the player they draft just because they can't do a total rebuild in 1 year. So yeah, they can develop them as best as they can, but they're not going to get that same level of compete or anything as they would on other teams. And like, yeah, that's how the draft works, blah, blah, blah. Get off my back. But it's like, it just sucks to see players who have such a huge potential to develop really well and become one of the greatest players in the league and go to a team where they, for the first couple years when they're so young and trainable, that their development's kind of going to get slowed down by the team being focused on rebuilding instead of just building the talent they already have.
Yeah, that's why I think if Detroit had gotten the first pick, as everybody predicted, and that's how the draft is supposed to work, I don't think Lafreniere would have had the opportunity either. I mean, Detroit, I don't know. Detroit is just such a weird team. They played awful. They don't have that many great players. So I feel like Lafreniere would have been the main focus, and I feel like it would have been a lot on his back. And there's already so much on his back because everybody already expects so much of him. And so let's say if he went to a team like Detroit where they just don't have enough players to kind of back him up, if he didn't play as well as everybody expected him to play, then everybody would just obviously hate on him and obviously give him a lot more flack than he probably deserves. If he goes to a team like New York, there's a lot more bigger name players that can help support him. He's not going to be the main center of attention, and there's not going to be so much pressure put on him. Like, as we were saying, if Quentin Byfield went to Ottawa. So lastly, we have Mr. Tim Stützle. I love saying his last name because he's German. Stützle. And so he plays for Adler Mannheim in the German Hockey League, DEL, which is Deutsche Eishockey Liga. I also wanted to say that because it sounded fun. And he can play center or left wing. So he's a versatile player. And in his scouting report, he's described as a great skater with slick hands. And so I feel like by him playing in the German Hockey League, I feel like he has a little bit more experience playing with men and with bigger players. Just like, let's say, Austin Matthews, when he played in the Swiss League, he played with bigger players and more developed players. And so I feel like that definitely helps a lot in his development. I couldn't get much on him in the last season. I don't know if there was a previous season played or if he was injured. I couldn't really look into that.
The only thing I found was that he had 34 points in 41 games, and I was gonna say I had it just written down that when you look at the points, and they're not as amazing as Quentin Byfield or Alexis Lafreniere, you have to look at that he's playing with men. This is not the OHL or the Q.
Yeah.
He's playing against men, and in the World Juniors he had 5 assists in 5 games. So, that's pretty good as well. I guess I was gonna say he's probably one of the best players coming out of Europe in this year's draft.
Yeah, just because he has that experience. A lot of European players, they still come to play in the OHL or in some sort of Canadian league. So it obviously changes a lot for them. But if they can have experience like this, I think it definitely ranks them even higher than everybody else, just because teams already know that they can rely on him and expect him to play a good game as soon as he's put into the NHL. They know that they're not going to spend a lot of time prepping him to play against bigger men. That's what I'm trying to get across. I couldn't think of words. But yeah, so those are our top 3 picks. It'll be interesting to see at what number Byfield goes and at what number Stützle goes. There's still so many other picks that we need to get through, but there's not enough time to get through all of those. It'd probably take us forever, and knowing us, we'd spend 20 minutes on one player. So as the draft gets closer and closer, we'll do, I guess, 3 picks probably and just talk quickly about them and see where they're going and how they fit with the team that they're supposedly supposed to go to. So it'll be exciting to see that. It'll be exciting to see how the draft goes. And yeah, I'm just excited to see players get moved, see what teams acquire, what players. I feel like that's always the most exciting part of off-season hockey. Even though there's hockey games being played, it's still really exciting to see. And so, with that being said, there aren't many NHL games to be watching anymore.
Okay, I'll take this one because it's on me.
Yes.
This whole thing is on me. If I get my act together and get this edited and uploaded on Thursday, you'll be watching the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. If I don't, which is probable, and you end up listening to this on Friday, you'll be watching the Tampa Bay and Islanders game. So you got choices, apparently.
You have two big choices.
You have options this week.
Yes, options, which is very few, but you still have them, which is important. You still have the most important games to be played, and they're both really great series, so it'll be exciting what comes out of those two series. There'll be plenty of more to speak about next week, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to this week's episode. Keep your sticks on the ice.
And your heels
Your
on the
heels
dance
on the
floor.
dance floor.
Bye, guys.